Hi everybody, welcome to another Flex Physiotherapy video. This is another how-to splint video, and this is another one about how to splint for trigger finger or trigger thumb. There's another video showing how to make a short arc motion splint for this problem, but this is how to make an immobilizing splint. So this might be for someone who's got particularly severe trigger finger or trigger thumb, where even a small amount of movement is enough to cause the triggering and to maintain the problem. So if your goal is to eliminate the triggering episodes, then immobilizing the PIP joint or the IP joint might be necessary. That's obviously not a good long-term solution for the patient, so it might need to be something that is done in conjunction with a cortisone injection, or it's something that's just done for a short period, with the plan then to transition to using a short arc motion splint to get the joint moving through partial range. But if you need to immobilize the joint, then this is how you do it. Let's have our patient's hand up here with triggering thumb. IP joint movement is causing the triggering, so we're going to immobilize the IP joint here. I think we'll use pink. How much do we need? Well, in terms of the length of the splint on the thumb, it needs to go from MCP joint far enough towards the tip of the thumb to properly immobilize the joint, so it can't be too short, but we want to try and leave the tip of the thumb free at least a little bit so the patient can use it functionally for pinching and grasping. So probably slightly less than that. Perfect. And enough width to wrap completely around the thumb. A little bit of excess doesn't hurt. It's better to have a little bit too much rather than not quite enough. So we'll throw that in the water and make a splint. All right, plastic is softened up. With this pink one, it goes a bit translucent, so it's easy to tell. Not so easy to tell which is the outside, but I can see the slightly larger holes on this side. I'm going to pre-roll my proximal edge, if I can have the thumb up here ready to go. Thank you, patient. Okay, I'm going to try to get the proximal edge right up close to the crease of the MCP joint and gently stretch it around so that it's snug without being uncomfortably tight. Pinch it together, and you'll see I'm doing that. I'm not doing it directly on the radial side. I'm definitely not doing it dorsal. It's just slightly above the radial side of the thumb. And what position? We want just a comfortable neutral, or sometimes even a slightly flexed position is just a functional position for the patient, as long as it's not a painful position for that triggering thumb. So thumb and fingertip can still oppose there. When it's set enough, it can be slid off. If it's a chunky knuckle and hard to slide off, then you'll wait until it's fully hardened and then pop it apart where it's been pinched. I'm going to trim off the unnecessary plastic, which we don't want anymore, like so. Round off my corners to try and make it comfortable for the patient. And there we go, all my corners nicely rounded. Let's just check that on the patient again. So they should have no capacity for IP joint flexion. That's a very well immobilized joint and still hopefully a reasonably functional thumb for the patient. Now we're going to make two little Velcro straps next. So I'm going to get my heat gun out, smooth off some of these edges and corners that might be a little bit sharp or a bit rough for the patient, and put my straps on it. All right, we're good to go. Ready to make our Velcro straps and to finish off this splint for a trigger thumb. I want to make two small straps rather than one big broad one. It gives more stability and security for the joint. It tends to feel more comfortable and more stable. So I want four little tiny tabs of hook Velcro. just like this. Cut roughly in half. Each of those short, approximately 1 centimetre pieces of Velcro. I'm going to scratch up my plastic, slightly roughen the surface so the Velcro has a better chance of sticking. No matter how much care you take with your Velcro straps, there's always going to be someone who comes back needing to have a strap reattached or replaced. People use their splints pretty hard sometimes, but a little bit of care to roughen up the edges, to heat up the plastic first, to reinforce, can minimise the amount of time that you spend fixing up splints for return patients. Get the heat gun going. Gently apply a bit of heat, just enough to warm it, not enough to soften it. And we'll just go around to these 4 scratched up pieces of plastic. There's 3 fitted little pieces of Velcro. And 4. Now I'll just feel for any little bits where it's sharp or rough. Smooth it back to make sure that the patient's happy with it and comfortable. A little tiny piece I can feel there. I can't see it, but I can feel it. So let's get rid of it. Okay, now I'm just going to reinforce those little Velcro tabs with a tiny thin strip of plastic, heated to the point of being soft and tacky, like so, and pressed firmly into place on the edge of the Velcro to stop it lifting up as the strap is removed. Three, and 4. It can be hot. The air coming out of this might be 300 or 400 degrees Celsius. So if you're finding that it's a bit hard on sensitive fingertips, if they haven't become asbestos like mine, then it's always worth just have a wet sponge or even a little puddle of water on the desk. You can just dip your fingertip into something wet and then do your pressing down onto the plastic. Minimises that heat burn. And we just want a couple of little straps. One and 2. All right, let's try this for size on our patient. Thank you, patient. Slip that on. Keep in mind where the seam is going to be. It's not palmar, it's not dorsal, it's not even radial. We've got a nice deep gutter on that palmar side with the seam just sitting at the top edge, the dorsal edge of the radial aspect of the thumb. Thumb tip free, IP joint nestled nicely into the splint, and the straps just done up comfortably firm and secure, and trimmed to length. So there we are. There's our splint. Can you try and bend the tip of your thumb as much as possible? The MCP joint's moving, that tends not to cause triggering. In a really severe case, maybe it will, and maybe you'll need to make a splint that includes more than just the IP joint. But for most cases of even quite severe trigger thumb, Immobilizing the IP joint is enough. And then for less severe cases, check out our splint on short arc motion, check out our video on short arc motion splinting for trigger thumb and trigger finger. So there's the splint. Hope you enjoy making it. Have a play. It's always good fun to play with thermoplastic. If you have any questions, any comments, any tips or tricks that you have learned along the way, please put them in the comments below. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Cheers.